Welcome to the January 14th regular Dyer Town Council meeting. Before we begin the pledge, I would like everybody to remain standing at the end for a moment of silence for Jean Freeland. She passed away December 25th. She was the council president from 1984 to 1987. That was the council that built this town hall. Don Schultz, he passed away December 26th. Worked for the town since 1998 and was the building maintenance supervisor. And also John O'Laughlin, better known as Big John, he passed away January 8th. He was the public works street foreman. He worked for the town from 1987 till his retirement in 2015. We can now stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the December 15th, 2020 Town Council meeting, minutes of the December 21st, 2020 Town Council meeting, minutes of the December 21st, 2020 Town Council executive session, claims totaling $1,779,221.83, resolution 2021-1, transfer of funds, the town manager memo, resolution 2020-26, declaratory resolution, and temporary loans. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll make a second, excluding myself from the December 21st meeting and executive session.
Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Brooks, on the December 15th minutes, page 5 actually on page 4, we've got a section in the middle. It says old business, none. Then task called for a vote, and it shows a 3-2 vote, but it doesn't list what the vote was pertaining to. Got to clean that up.
Okay.
On page 5, going into page 6, we got another one that's kind of hanging out there. Tanis called for a vote on the motion. Motion was approved by a 3-2 vote. And it shows a 4-1 vote with the way the names are listed out.
Okay, we could approve the consent agenda, excluding those items, so we can get that straightened out.
Well, the motion will need to be amended.
I'll amend my vote.
Okay.
I'll amend second.
Any further discussion?
So we're just taking out the December 15th minutes until the next time.
Yes.
We just don't know why it printed out like that. Everything was in there.
Okay. Debbie, will you take the roll?
Yes. Bob?
Aye, abstaining from December 21st meeting and executive session minutes.
Eric?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Do we have any announcements? Well, actually, I made a mistake. Citizen input. Would anyone like to speak? Any questions or comments? Just step forward and state your name and address.
I was looking at the agenda just before I came in here in the packet, and it was talking about doing reconstruction on Osage and the streets over there. I was wondering, is anything going to be done on Edgewood?
Yes, the after Osage and Laurel, that's the next project, Edgewood and
Sycamore's in there too.
I'm not sure about Sycamore. I know,
Or around there.
yeah,
Okay.
Schilling and Edgewood will follow after Laurel and Osage.
I
Okay.
think, Neil, do you have the list of what's taking place over there?
Yeah, Ellen's right. It's Schilling, Edgewood, and Carnation are the next CCMG.
Okay.
And and then after that, we're gonna continue working forward in that area.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, sir, could you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Rich Soga, and I'm 829 Jacobs Court.
Thank you.
Any other citizen input? Do we have any announcements?
I do.
Go ahead.
Dyer and Bloom, which is one of our committees for beautification, will be meeting on February 9th. And we have two items that we're going to be discussing. One of them is looking at planters for the new bridge. And also we're going to be starting to plant our seeds. So we invite people to come to our Dyer and Bloom meeting. It's at 2:30 in the afternoon in the town hall. Thank you.
Reports, town council, Councilman Starkey, you have anything to report?
I have nothing at this time.
Councilmember Tanis?
No.
Councilmember Schultz?
I'd just like to thank our police department for the harrowing weekend that they had previously. Thank them for the bravery, for their actions to keep our residents safe this last weekend. I'd also like to announce that our Dyer Community Market, the dates have been slated for June 1st, June 29th, June 1st, June 15th, June 29th, July 6th, July 20th, August 17th, August 31st, and September 14th, from 4 to 8 at Pheasant Hill. So looking forward to an improved year from last year. Last year, I thought it was a great success thanks to the hard work of our Parks Department and our volunteers, our Public Works, and our police. And I think this year will be even better.
Thank you. Councilman Kramer?
Yes, thank you. Again, I want to thank the police for doing a great job. I contribute all of the bravery and heroism to the good training and great officers that we have. I'm just grateful that no one was hurt on our department except for one vehicle, I believe it was, Dave, that got a shot in it. I want to thank the fire department. I've seen them out on quite a few calls and taking care of everything. Our Public Works, our clerk treasurers, all of our town employees are doing a great job with all things considered. I greatly appreciate it and thank you.
Clerk treasurer's report?
Yes, I have some donations to read off. Police K-9, $370. Police K-9, $1,720. K-9 program, $25. Police chief's discretion will go towards the body cameras, $20,000. And police gift again for the chief, $20. And then for the fire department, $3 that someone just overpaid in a bill and said to put it towards that.
Do I have a motion to accept the donations as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Debbie, will you take the roll?
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye. Carries 5-0. Town manager,
I have nothing further than what's here.
town attorney,
Beyond what's in the agenda, the Hammond litigation continues apace, and I did deliver a press release prepared by our litigation counsel, and that will remain all of the parties' official public position at this point in the litigation. And if there are any questions, I can answer them all.
any questions? Thank you. Boards and commissions, Frank, do you have anything?
Essentially continue work on the 2020 bond issue water projects on the water side. The supply lines designed through Nice Engineering is continuing in earnest for the supply lines from Munster and Highland. And then the distribution line from the booster station, the redundant distribution line, as well as the interconnect at 77th Avenue and the upgrade to the pipeworks at the booster station. Those are moving along rapidly, and hopefully there'll be design documents ready for those in the next month or so. On the sanitary side, work continues on the collection systems. We did the comprehensive flow monitoring, data collection. We're using that data right now to sort of concentrate on high priority areas. And that's what we're going to be doing up over the next couple months or so here, trying to eliminate different issues that we have in the system with that valuable data. And trying to find the best way to solve those problems. The phosphorus removal system basically is, I believe, will be going out for bid here in in the next couple weeks or so, right, Jeff? And I think those bids are intended, at least at this point, to be received sometime in February. Is that about accurate, Jeff? So that project is obviously moving along as well. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Department heads, Chief Hine.
Yes, thank you. First, thank you for thoughtful text, emails, words tonight. Our officers definitely know they're supportive and they know they did a great job and we're standing behind for even weeks, years, and everything to come. It's a long process. December activity was 738 incidents, 35 arrests, 32 accidents, 178 citations, 264 warnings, and 17 ordinance violations. 4 new vehicles are set to arrive sometime in February. The LPR program is nearing conclusion. It is up and running, and we are working out some logistical bugs as far as some of the angles and camera lanes, but it is up and running and has been successful so far. Body cams, the only thing else, but that is an agenda item for you, so I'll reserve comment for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Parks.
Just a couple of things. Park board wise, this year we have 2 new projects that we'll be starting. Autumn Chase Park improvements, we'll get a new playground, new walking path, some connections, water fountain. And then the bigger one of the 2, the Central Park hub area, will be, we're working on that plans now to bid out here in the next couple of months. That would be all the work in between the ball fields over at Central Park. The current work going on at Central Park, tire construction still moving along with the new ball field, walking path, pond project, and then the concession stands moving along quite well too. You could actually see it now.
Yeah, it looks good.
As you're driving along and stuff like that too. The other smaller project we got going on in Northgate Park Pavilion is getting the roof is being repaired. We had a few leaks for a while, but now we're getting that fixed. And then lastly, we did open up the ice rink for basically a little over a day.
Right.
It was solid at that time. So knowing that we had some warm weather coming up, we figured just open it up because we don't have probably a lot of days overall and stuff like that. So it's closed right now. We do have lights out there now. We're going to be open until 8 o'clock once everything reopens back up. 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock pretty much is the plan. And we're looking weather-wise, hopefully Tuesday, Wednesday, it's supposed to be warm up and through Saturday, and then freezing temperatures again starting Sunday. So give it a couple days after that, and hopefully by Tuesday, Wednesday will be.
Yeah, hopefully these kids can get some ice time.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Don't get the adult, Phil.
Right.
And we do also there too. We do have a synthetic ice rink there too, fake ice as well. So 2 options.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, Public Works.
Public Works is currently going throughout the town and updating the sign inventory. We're taking photos, writing down conditions, and getting that all inventoried into a mapping system so that way we have it for planning out future signs and just seeing what because we've added a lot of signs in the last few years. So again, just want to get that current. Last week we had a valve break shut at the hospital, so that has been fixed at this time, but we got with Calumet City Plumbing's help, we were able to get that fixed and it's back online right now. As Frank said, we are working with NICE right now, looking over the flow data to see where our high priority spots are at for trying to fix the I&I. So again, I have a meeting with NICE next week to start looking at that and seeing what our plans can go forward with that. And then lastly, we have finished updating the specifications for the landscape maintenance program. So again, we should have right now staff is reviewing it, and hopefully we should be able to call for a bid rather shortly before the spring starts.
Okay, thank you. Road projects, Neil.
Oh, beautiful. Good evening.
Evening.
We have 4 items on the CCMG. The Northgate 2019-1, that's been closed out with NDOT and it's been approved. We don't owe any money back. The 2020-1, which is Osage and Laurel and the courts, those are ready to begin construction with Dyer Construction. We have the 2020-2, that was the award we got in December. And that bidding will be within 45 days. We'll advertise, coordinate that through the town manager's office with the attorney. And we'll be on schedule to secure those contractors to coordinate our work with NDOT. So we're able to get those contracts within 120 days of when the requirement is of sending those contracts over. And those are the resurfacing projects that we had talked about. The 2020-1, the applications are going to be submitted by January 29th. And those are going to be the projects we had just briefly talked about earlier. Those are going to be the Edgewood, Schilling, and Carnation reconstruction projects and resurfacing project with some utilities as well. And those will be on the, what I would say 15-month delayed schedule. We started with Northgate and then we moved to the Osage and Laurel, and then we're going to the Edgewood and Schilling and Carnation area subsequent to that. Any questions?
Do you have a timeline on the start for Osage Laurel?
Yeah, as soon as the weather breaks, Dyer Construction is ready to go. They've submitted shop drawings to us. We've begun reviewing those. We've also given them all our CAD drawings so that they can do the layout and get rolling on that project ASAP.
Okay, thank you, Neil.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
General orders, old business. I need a motion to appoint Michael Berwanger to the Park Board, term expiring 12/31/24.
Motion to appoint Michael Berwanger to the Park Board, term expiring 12/31/24.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Debbie, will you take the roll?
Yep. Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Is Mr. Harris here? Would you like to come up and speak? State your name and address.
Okay. My name is David Harris. I live in Schneider, 23801 Euclid Street. The request is about 2666 Forest Park Drive. I found in your town code that it requires permission from the town council to hunt, if you would like to. And then all of Dyer is in a deer reduction zone where the state of Indiana has extended the hunting season and the bag limits to help with reducing the deer population. I'm 2666 Forest Park Drive is owned by a couple of family members of mine.
Okay.
And they were over on New Year's Eve and we were just talking and they were saying, oh, there's deer in our backyard all the time. So they said it'd be fine if I wanted to hunt there. I have written permission from them, which I've also brought. So I thought I would ask the town council if that would be acceptable. So.
I think just the nature of that area, most of those deer come from Cook County Forest Preserve. And just the nature, I know kids play back there, people ride bikes, walk through the woods back there. I just think in basically a suburban setting with tight backyards, I just don't see it being safe.
Well,
It's just,
before we share our thoughts, what I would recommend is the board ask questions of the applicant and then entertain a motion, and then we can have discussion. I think that would be the best way to proceed.
Was there a review by our attorney, and what was the review?
The review I conducted is in the memorandum that the council has. The ordinance is facially valid, and it's within the council's discretion to consider the petition, taking into consideration all the factors such as public safety, DNR regulations, and general town policy and specific facts of this particular petition. All of that should factor into the council's decision.
does the council have any questions for Mr. Harris?
Probably have a couple.
Sure.
I know I look pretty young, but I've been deer hunting for about 30 some years.
Right.
Haven't done it in a while, but a lot of things that went through my mind was such as, at times deers are wounded, especially with an arrow. If they take off and run into Illinois across state line, have questions, I researched and I asked the County Forest Preserve Illinois does not allow hunting and or shooting into their property for the county. I don't know if there's easements back there and if the owner of the property easement. I have the same concern as our Councilman Brooks does with kids being back there. I know they ride their bikes. I see dogs running, people walking their dogs. This is, it's turned into an urban area. As much as I tried to figure out if there was a safe and a good way to do it, I can't see it. It's just so many questions out there. Then what do we do if someone else asks? And then I'm worried about if someone wants to use a crossbow. Obviously, in the state of Indiana, you can hunt deer legally with rifles, long guns, handguns, black powder muzzleload rifles. So just considering that with the evolution of the town of Dyer, especially in that area, it's hard for me to envision deer hunting there.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Seedy.
Do you have a question for me?
Yes. What should we do as far as a motion? What is the motion for?
The motion would be either to grant or deny the permit.
Okay. Do I have a motion to grant a permit for deer hunting? Do I have a motion to deny a permit for deer hunting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just a little bit, just again, so you understand, it's only because of being within the town of Dyer, the limits. I know if you go outside the town limits, there's consideration.
Right.
for
Yeah,
deer
no,
hunting.
I don't mind. It's
Yeah.
certainly in your discretion, and I
Okay.
understand and accept your authority. So I'm
All right.
Another concern of
Yeah.
mine would be to have to chase the deer into a neighbor's yard and find the deer in a neighbor's
Right.
backyard and pull it
Yeah.
out. That's be pretty
Yeah.
unsettling
Right.
for a neighbor who's not putting their hand up for that.
right. No, I thought you'd need to, because the state requires that you ask permission to do that. So I thought, no, that's a complication, but no, you won't get any complaint from me. So,
Well,
understand.
we appreciate you coming out and asking these questions and trying to do it the right way.
all right, thank you.
Debbie,
Roll call.
Oh, yeah.
Debbie, will you take the roll on that?
Bob?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next order of business are the body cameras. Chief, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. I'll start out with the history behind it. We set out towards the end of last year, after presenting to you our desire to move that up to a priority project. Frank and the department put a list together of needs and solicited some vendors on it. We believe that we are ready to move forward. A lot of it was tech-based on the decisions, which we have to take into consideration of the after, once the cameras are here, what's the maintenance look like, and that's where we defer to the IT expertise. We believe the donation that came in, the generous donation from Dyer resident, is going to help launch this quicker than anticipated. And I think we're ready to go tonight with the approval of the council. I'll let Frank talk on some of the IT-based decisions that we made.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of it was captured in the memo that was out there that there was a lot of different aspects from technical to administrative in terms of how these systems are used. That obviously that they technically perform, but they're also easy to use. And the ability to activate, collect that information, upload it, and then get it attached to the RMS, or the record management system, and be able to manage that and redact it as necessary moving forward are important considerations. The cameras that the different vendors that we looked at, and the chief and I spent a great deal of time reviewing a number of these. they're all capable systems, and there's even other systems out there that are equally capable. So we kind of listed some of the criteria that we looked at in terms of the program to make sure that the program itself was easy to manage in terms of having a subscription-based model, online storage, so we can basically ensure the fidelity of the information, make sure we have no fault warranties, technology refresh. So as there's new technology comes in these cameras, we can go ahead and obtain that technology without having to take separate steps to do it. And a number of those things are priorities when we put everything together. And again, as I mentioned, all the vendors had good cameras, good systems that would certainly work and certainly work for many departments. What the particular vendor here stood out with was the fact that they have a very tight integration with our current technology systems. And most specifically, the highest priority is our record management system. So that as this information comes in many instances, it can be auto-correlated. And if not, with a relative ease of use, that information, the video, still images, and audio can be attached to the law incident records. So managing that information, because again, we're collecting a lot more data now in terms of this important data, vital data, and making sure that it gets into our systems in as simple and as intuitive manner is important. And they're able to do that because the vendor, Motorola Solutions, which provides the WatchGuard product, is also the vendor for our what we call CAD and RMS, but more specifically the RMS, a record management system called Spillman. So they provide that. In addition, they also are the vendor for our LPR camera system, as well as for radio systems. So they kind of have a lot of, own a lot of that different technology in our department, and they're actively working on integrations with all of them. Like the in-car cameras as an example, should we come to that point, and there are in-car cameras, they actually have what's called a low-speed LPR, which means that we'll capture the stuff off the in-car camera and transfer it up into the vigilance system, along with all the other detections we get from our fixed cameras. And there's other ways it integrates with the rest of our products that makes it an optimum choice for us. There's other pieces in terms of how it records video that, without getting into details, that ensures that we don't lose any footage in the instance. Because again, when events happen and the adrenaline's rushing and there's all the anxiety, is making sure that you capture those images at that time, capture that video. And they have certain features that help us with that. The price point too was, probably in the middle of the field. So in totality, it provided a good value in terms of the different systems we were looking at. So that's sort of it in summary. But we think it's the best product, again, from the technical purposes that I just mentioned, but also it does have that ease of use and reliability in ensuring that we get that video and we can manage it effectively, efficiently, and get it into our system, so that very important evidence is preserved properly. So if anyone has any questions.
Will the vendor store the data for us?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yeah, that was important.
Right.
We have options with storing the data locally or storing it on their systems. And because of the criticality of this information and the resiliency of the storage that they have at Motorola, it felt the prudent thing to have it there. And we also have unlimited storage on it too, because some of the vendors out there, they charge per gigabyte, terabyte, and so forth. And that was another difference between these vendors. They are unlimited in storage so that we don't have to concern ourselves with perhaps purging certain videos that we may not otherwise in order to conserve storage and this type of thing. We don't want that to be a factor. And that was some of the things that we listed in that criteria is we don't want to have to feel that we're limiting the way we use this stuff because we have limits set on us. Or even when it comes down to a camera that's failing or maybe not operating properly. We don't want to be in a position with, talking with, the chief and some of the important things that he wanted is to make sure that we're not like holding on to a piece of equipment that isn't performing properly simply for that reason. Because again, the critical nature of it. This way, again, no fault warranties. If anything goes wrong with it whatsoever, you turn this in, you get a new one. And the same thing with as I mentioned, the technology refresh, that you get to upgrade to that next level of technology. We put those in there as well without having to spend money again for those cameras. So Those are important parts to make sure that we have the best technology out there and the best condition at all times for the officers.
Okay,
I'll make
thank
the
you.
motion to authorize the purchase of 15 WatchGuard V300 body cameras over a 5-year period at a base price of $62,425 to be funded by a police donation fund and the CCD fund.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
One question, do we have has there been an update to any of the general orders for the police cameras?
Yes,
And if not,
we have a draft already in place. It just needs to be finalized once the vendor selected because some of the terminology is different as far as activation storage. So we'll be fine tuning that with the vendor approval as well to make sure that we're articulating the proper use of it in our general orders. We do probably expect not to be at the January meeting for the police commission for approval of that general order because of the time to get with the vendor. But probably will be on the February 1.
Debbie, will you take the roll?
One more. Al.
Oh, Councilman
Do
Schultz.
we have any language drafted to protect our police officers' privacy when not in the line of duty, when in a break room, when?
Yes.
Do we have something drafted up to go along with this? This is a great program. I'm all for it, but I just want to make sure that if somebody's, like I said, in the break room or something, that's not inadvertently being activated and their privacy is being.
Yes, the general order has in place instructions on when you're on private time, when you're not on private time. It also has in place if there is something that is accidentally captured of a personal nature that does not meet the requirements of holding on to it. There is procedure in place how to document that and how to remove it from being a freedom of information request. So we believe the general order and the attorney will peruse through it soon on the draft and also be recommending for the final draft of it as well. So I think we're all good to go on that.
Okay.
Thanks for that concern, but it is a big concern.
Also signage too. Turn your camera off when you're in personal spaces, right? And that's one thing you see as well with all these departments, before they go into a restroom or break room, be sure to turn your camera off. So, okay.
Any further discussion? Debbie, will you take the roll?
Bob,
aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Ordinance and resolutions. Ordinance 2021-1, amendment to the 2021 salary ordinance. Tom, would you speak to this?
Sure. There's 4 changes. A couple are just really typographical adds. I think they're self-explanatory. The substantive change is a change in the police department. We've changed to that any hour for any sworn personnel over 84 is now time and a half in their work schedule. We had it separated, but it causes problems for grant overtime and that type of stuff. So what you have in your documents is 8-hour shifts. That's crossed out, and just the each is now a capital letter at the start of that sentence. On the 4th one is the fire chief's position, which is an attempt, as we plan to go full time. We've changed, we've made it into a range, which is from 67,638.22 to 94,427. And those would be the 4 changes that we've gotten made.
Tom, the worksheet is in line with what I believe the consensus was. It's 75,000 to 94, but then the recommendation says 67,682.
I apologize for that. Yeah.
So this will be what's listed in the spreadsheet, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I missed that. I'm sorry, because I wrote that without the benefit of having the spreadsheet with me. Tammy did it the right way.
I also happen to notice under longevity pay, elected officials are still
I
there.
will
We're
have to
not
get you
talking
an
about
ordinance.
that.
I have that written down.
Got it.
It's,
Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2021?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Debbie, will you take the roll?
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. And then Attorney Cedia, we need to suspend the rules for a second reading this evening.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to suspend the rules so we can do a second reading?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Debbie, will you take the roll?
Bob?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye. Now, do I have a motion to approve the second reading of the 2021 salary ordinance?
I'll make that motion that we approve the second reading of ordinance 2021, amendment to the 2021 salary ordinance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Debbie, will you take the roll?
Bob?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have the ordinance 2021-2, the final adoption of the comprehensive plan.
Mr. President, Mr. Cedia wrote this as a resolution, which is fine. So we just got to change in the notes. And Jackie changing the minutes and Debbie. It would be resolution 2021-3, since we've already used 2. But all that does is authorize you to adopt the plan. You got the recommendation from the plan commission. So it's really just this allows us to kind of track when we do stuff is really what we use a lot of these resolutions.
I think the comprehensive plan, we have been working on that for so many years. We've had citizen input. We've had a lot of different ideas, not only from residents, but also from the town council over the years. And I would strongly consider, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2021-3, adopting the 2020 comprehensive plan and appointing 2 council members. And I would like to appoint Alan Brooks and myself to work on the zoning code.
Do I have a second? Not hearing a second, we table the motion?
Oh, the motion.
The motion
That motion fails.
Motion fails.
You can ask for another
Motion that we approve resolution 2021-3, adopting the 2020 comprehensive plan. As is.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, for the zoning, I believe the planning commission, under their guidance and regulations, that they review and approve zoning and changes, and the council does final approval. Is that right?
That's normally how the process,
Okay.
that's how the statutory
And I
process.
think
works.
that's what the rest of us are looking for, an equal
Okay, I'll find 2 plan commission members.
input.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I will say that this is, I feel this is long overdue. Since Councilman Kramer and I came on the town council, we've been urging to update our zoning. I feel that every day that goes by is a day that we could have a new business move in that's not fit to the character that we want to see the town of Dyer. So I urge us to pass this so we can move forward with making some modifications to our zoning.
Debbie, will you take the roll?
Bob?
Nay.
Eric?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Alan?
Aye. Motion carries 4-1. Next, we have ordinance 2021-3, amending resolution 91-9 regarding certain unpaid utility bills. Debbie, would you like to speak to this?
Well, in 1991, it was just for Social Security. In the last 15 years, they've been doing with the railroad pension. This is a federal, correct, Adam?
Well, yeah, if I can jump in here. Debbie asked me to amend the ordinance to include railroad retirement, and as I dug through the statute, there's actually a whole category of these sorts of they're called windfall elimination provisions, similar to railroad retirement, where it reduces Social Security eligibility. Railroad retirement's the big one, but it also applies to armed services retirement pensions and foreign country retirement pensions where there's a treaty with the U.S. So all I did was broaden the language to include all these WEP provisions and treat them the same as Social Security benefits, where late payments and interest penalties are waived for these particular class of individual utility bill payers.
And the office has been taking the railroad pensions for the last 15 years, and it was okayed. I just wanted the language cleaned up because it should be in the language for us. And Adam agreed.
Do I have an emotion to amend Resolution 91-9 regarding certain unpaid utility bills?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Debbie, will you take the roll?
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have the non-health insurance renewal. Tom, will you address that?
This is the, as it says, the non-health insurance, so it's our property, liability, law enforcement, auto, and everything else. We had a very positive renewal. If you look at page 3 of the materials, it shows you last year's to this year's. It's a little bit over a 5% increase, I think. It's a total of 251. The main ones that went up were property. That's both obviously impacted nationally by property losses and our values rising. Remember, we had a fire station and some other kinds of things, so you just definitely have more to insure. I think the same thing can be said for our general liability went down. That's indicative a little bit of our claims experience. That's positive. Public officials is basically a wash. Employment practices went down. Law enforcement liability went up. And again, I think that's part of the broad national market, and everybody's impacted by that by just higher rates. Our workers' comp is fairly constant. And that to me is a positive thing because that's a 3-year rolling experience thing. And we've come down the last couple of years, and I'm pleased with that. That's good. Not only good, it's good risk management and good safety by all of our employees and watching for stuff. So I would request, I bound these policies, turn down the tariffs as we always do. But there really was no reason not to go along with this thing, and we bound everything. So I'd like to point out that a couple of years ago, we started overcharging ourselves, setting aside a little bit more money than usual. We now have enough cash in the fund to pay this premium in cash and then build up the reserves again for the rest of the year, including our self-insured retention, which you and I know is a deductible. So the program is working very well, and I think we're in pretty good shape. So
Thank you.
I request that you confirm this.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the 2021 liability and property insurance program with Bremen Insurance in the base amount of $251,485?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 liability and property insurance program with Bremen Insurance in the amount of $251,485.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I know we've been with Bremen for quite a while. Have we gone out to see if there's any better options?
I have not written out a complete proposal. The better options are the companies that they negotiate with. So we've had different companies over the years with them as our agent. So effectively, we've gone out to the market. He's just an agent that brokers out with a bunch of companies. If you want the next step, that would require us to do an RFQ, which is going to take some time. And if you want that, I'll put that on the list of things for somebody to do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Debbie, will you take the roll?
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Yes.
We need to go back to the ordinance and resolutions, because on the ordinance for the resolution for 9190 for the utility bills, there wasn't a second. Does there need to be, Adam?
I thought there was a second.
Yeah, I thought there was too.
Yeah.
No, we don't have
I
it.
thought it was Councilman.
They didn't read it
Schultz.
a second time.
No, that,
Okay.
yes, that is an ordinance. So yeah, you will need to do
A second reading?
a second reading.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And then you skipped over just to let, the resolution for 2021 for the contract with St. John Township.
We haven't gotten to
We
that
haven't
yet.
gotten to that yet.
Oh, on our agenda, it's like in the old ordinances and resolutions.
Yes, the next item.
The health insurance was underneath
Oh,
new
no, we
business. Is
skipped
that what
over it,
yours
yeah.
says?
Yeah, you're right. I was just yeah. I
Sorry.
got a second page. You're right. Is Kathy here at internal?
Yeah, Kathy. Okay.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Yeah, get this one taken care of.
I will second that motion, suspend the rules. For the second reading.
Do I have okay. Motion carries to, we need a vote to
Yeah, you need
suspend the
to
rules.
do a vote to suspend the rules and then another motion to approve on second reading.
Deb, you want to take?
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye.
Motion to pass the amendment to ordinance 91-9 on second reading.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Debbie, will you take the roll?
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thanks for catching that.
You're welcome.
Next, we have the renewal of the St. John Fire contract. Kathy, would you like to come up?
I missed you, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
You get here late.
Fine, a couple minutes late,
Okay.
yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So, thanks, Tom, for getting it on the agenda for tonight. By state statute, any fire contracts have to be renewed, should be renewed by the end of January. And what you have before you is basically the same agreement that we had last year. The only difference is the pay went up $500. And also on page 2 reporting, I'm just requesting that the fire department would, or the town would provide a quarterly report. Just quarterly, just to be able to see, you know, how many calls are really going to the unincorporated areas in the township. So I think it's been going really well. It's a good partnership with the township and Dyer. And all the fire chiefs work really great as well with, you know, with me. So I'm just looking for this to be approved and passed and answer any questions.
I don't see our fire chief or assistant, so I'm going to bring this to the fire department. Please in the back. I want to ask them if they approve too. Should I defer to Susan over here? She's not that. You know.
And then council members, in the interest of complete disclosure, I am also the attorney for St. John Township. And this agreement is off of a form that I drafted for the township's agreements with St. John and Cherville, just so you know that.
Do I have a motion to execute the contract with the St. John Township for fire service?
Yeah, I'll motion that we execute the fire services contract with St. John Township in the amount of $30,515 for the period of January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021.
I'll be happy to second that motion.
Any further discussion?
Now, with a thumbs up, I think it's a good agreement. Thank you for everyone who put it together and reviewed it.
Debbie, will you take the roll?
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye. Thank you, Kathy.
Well, thank you, and I look forward to working with all of you again, and Happy New Year.
You too, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Next, we have the non-health insurance renewal for 2021.
Yeah, I guess we just did that. We're out of order, so you can skip it.
That's what we did.
We did.
Yeah,
Okay,
go to
next,
Safety Village.
Safety Village.
Yeah,
request.
now I'm caught up.
I'll make a motion that the council authorize a contribution of $15,000 to the Triton Safety Village seated fund.
Second that motion.
Any further discussion?
As last time they came before us, I would hope that we would give the most amount we can, but with all things considering going on, I believe that's a good motion and I appreciate it.
Debbie, would you take the roll?
Sure. Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have the town council liaison appointments to boards and commissions.
These are the existing ones if you want to make any changes.
I'll make a motion that we reenact the same, keep the same positions that we've had before with the liaisons.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Debbie, will you take the roll on that?
Sure. Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have Nice Engineering Construction Observation, CCMG 2020-01. Tom, or Neil, you want to speak to this?
Sure. This is for the 2020-1 project that we talked about earlier for Osage, Laurel, and the two courts, including the utility work that is associated with that. And consistent with what we've had in the past several years, it's less than 5% of the construction amount. And we actually were under on design work. So some of the coordination with Dyer Construction that we've had to do to keep the project moving, we've done under that amount. Any questions?
Any further questions?
I'll make a motion to authorize the approval of the construction and engineering observation for the town's 2020-01 CCMG project in the amount of $112,450 as allocated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Debbie, could you take the roll?
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Alan.
Aye.
Thank you. We will keep on working.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank
Thanks
you,
so
Neil.
much.
Next, we have the 2021 DLGF budget report.
Well, this is not quite the way I wanted it to work out in terms of the budget report, because we were told that we could adjust our ending balances as part of the 1782. That aside, we'll still get to the same spot. We're going to take us through another step. There's three budget orders that we get. There's what's called the civil town, which is all the funds, the non-utility funds, but basically the tax supported funds that we have to report each and every year. The sanitary district has a separate budget order, and the waterworks waterworks district, which in our case is just the bond issue, is a separate budget order. The sanitary district is fixed. There was no changes made in that. The waterworks district is based on the debt retirement. It'll change over the life of the bond issue, so there's nothing else in that. What we've done in the general fund, you see on page 3, this is our attempts to go back. We had a plan worked out, and then DLGF decided not to approve it this year. They've made some changes. They're not making modifications in our actual fund balances that we had, that we were able to prove to them by giving them the December 31st report. So they were taking a snapshot of 6/30, and that's what they're using. If you remember, at 6/30, we were a little concerned with how our collections were going to be and everything else. So some of our balances were down. Particularly concerned to me is MVH, which saw a decline in distributions based on lack of gas tax, and that's a problem we've been aware of. But so, what's going to happen next is once we get the budget order, we're going to go through the process of what's called additional appropriations. That then allows us to use the real cash balances. We'll go through, and there's a worksheet that they have. We'll go through, and I'll explain it to you at the time, and we'll take what our actual cash balances are, and we tell them we have more money than what we said we had in July of 2020. And this is it. This is a common practice that goes on, and we'll be able to reestablish the general fund. Most of MVH, we're going to probably take a little bit of a haircut on MVH. What we're doing mainly that is we're doing multiple steps. We're taking some expenses out of MVH and moving them into local road and streets, which is another fund that we pay for salt and some of those things. We got a decent balance in that, so we're able to take some of those expenses. I suspect that in time, MVH will return back to a better number as driving goes up and everything else. The general fund, we should be in pretty good shape. If you read the materials, I have a couple of things that I always do. We put some placeholders in that we can easily cut, but doesn't affect anything. It's just literally a placeholder. So we're going to reestablish that. We're going back through, and we may come to you with some recommendations. I've talked to you about the special payment in lieu of taxes. Those were not made this past year. That money that goes to MVH and the general fund, you can consider that, as well as the utility boards, and restore that. Parks, Mike and I talked again this afternoon. We've got a couple strategies to shrink that one down. I think in part by using seeded for some of our contractual stuff. Our seeded budget is used for projects and mainly to help the park department out. So we'll look at that kind of stuff. I should have a better report for you sometime in February once we get everything back. This was done over the holidays. But now once we get the budget orders, we'll get it back to you. I'll take you through it and you can make your decisions as to how you want to go. We'll take the budget as it is. It's going to be less than what we asked for, which is what we knew was going to happen. But we don't see any serious issues with it, if you will. If they come up, we'll deal with it. Okay, so I'll have a better report for you next month.
Okay, so we don't need to take any action on
No,
this?
it's just there. I just wanted you to know where we're at.
Just accept it as a matter of record.
Okay. Any and all?
Yes, I have one. On hearing news that the assistant police chief has submitted a letter to start the process of stepping down from that position, I would like to make a motion that we increase the sworn officer head count to 33 with the purpose of allowing the police commission to have all the tools possible to fill that role. Part of the motion would be, should the commission select an internal candidate, that sworn head count will return to 32 officers.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Debbie, will you take the roll?
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Ellen.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Any other business? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'm going to break the signing papers.
If you already see.
We have some items to sign, but we can certainly wait a few minutes until.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Right.
we'd like to begin the meeting. We will wait to sign the documents when we're finished with this meeting, since we have a short RDC meeting. We've already done the call to order, pledge of allegiance, roll call. I would like to add the new member of the Lake Central School Corporation School Board, Jen Medlin, is in the audience joining us this evening. So thank you and welcome. Appreciate you coming. Next, we have citizen input. Do we have any citizens that have input? Moving along, we have a consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the December 15, 2020 Redevelopment Commission meeting, the minutes of the December 21st, 2020 Redevelopment Commission meeting, claims totaling $2,400,000, $228.45. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
Have any discussion? Roll call, please. Bob?
Yes, abstaining from December 21st.
Ellen,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye. Next, we have general orders or old business. We have the fire station number 2, change order request for number 6, including COR 14 through 24 change order. We have a motion to approve the change order request number 6.
I'll make that motion to approve change order number 6.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bob,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye. Next, we have tentative schedule for moving into fire station number 2. We
Well, we'll get,
anticipate
yeah,
having-
what's holding things up is the painting, that big painting change order,
Okay,
because that stopped other people from doing work in that
Okay.
area and stuff like that, so.
Valentine's Day?
No, we've got Motorola's done, Miner's done most of their work. All they have left to do is really plug and play, moving stuff from the old station, waiting for a couple pieces of outside equipment, but that's not gonna stop us. We'll get in there and then police and parks will be able to move in after that. So we'll have possession of the building sometime in late January. When I wrote this, it was the 3rd. It should still be around then. That's rolling around, so we'll be in there.
Great news.
It's,
Thank you. In new business, we have an emergency preemption on Hart Street and 213th Street.
This is a proposal. You've got a couple of diagrams in there. This is a proposal to put up emergency preemption at both the police fire station across the street on Hart Street and then at this station to block traffic as vehicles, come in and out. They'll be equipped with the GPS, so there isn't, it's picked up the same with the same system as at the traffic signals at the intersections. The real choice you need to make for me is, I assumed you wanted the nicer looking poles. That would, the decorative poles, kind of like, the black arched, if you will, and stuff like that. So
Yes.
that'd be the way we were going with things. There's what would you say, Jeff, 6 weeks, 6 or 7? 6 months. 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, poles are they're made to spec when they're ordered. They're not off the shelf.
Okay.
They're engineered. So this is one of those projects we'll get designed, and Midwestern's got plenty of time to do it. And the easy part is snapping the poles up after it's done, but they'll get everything done before then. So we've been planning this, but Jeff will finish up the actual layout now that we got everything, and we'll be okay. So. All right.
A motion to approve the installation of emergency vehicle preemption signals at the EMS building on Hart Street and Fire Station 2, using decorative poles at a base cost of $120,300 at 930 213th Street, $120,200 at EMS on Hart Street. Total authorization to include a 3% contingency for a total amount of $247,715 to be allocated from the Calumet Sheffield TIF allocation fund.
I'll
We have a
second.
second on the motion.
Second motion.
Any discussion?
Can I ask a goofy question?
Yeah.
Why there's $100 difference between the two?
I don't know. It's
I'm not for it.
it's probably some cabling and
Yeah.
something like that. It's about all I can figure.
Okay.
Is everything other than the connections is the same?
Okay.
May we have a roll call, please?
Bob,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye, it's 5-0. Next, we have any and all. Hearing none, we have a motion for adjournment.
I'll move.
Second.
Second, thank you. Voice vote.
Aye.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right.
Next, we have the town council study session. First item on the agenda is the storage containers.
I think the discussion here is, what do you want to do? We put in here the background information from back in the day.
Sure did.
I didn't know what else to get for you. I guess,
I have been
Bring it
working
back.
on a memorandum.
Yeah.
It has led me down all sorts of twists and turns. I wanted to have something for the meeting, but I'd like to have a more complete report to you. My short conclusion, my preliminary conclusion right now is that you're fine regulating storage containers as long as you don't regulate fireworks, what's in them. I don't see a problem with making and then as far as uniformity goes, you can, as long as there's a rational basis for distinguishing geographically or between, as long as it's not on a protected class, you can make those distinctions. There only needs to be a rational basis, and that's the lowest possible standard to survive a court challenge. So I think you have a lot of leeway to address this, but I will formalize this finding in a memorandum.
Adam, just to give you the background, my recollection of this is my interpretation is we were looking for a more targeted approach. There's very specific heartburn with some very specific issues. And the previous ordinance was just a blanket ordinance that adversely affected a lot of people that it wasn't intended to affect. So if you could find a way to just make this as precise as possible so that we're using a scalpel and not a machete.
Absolutely, and if
Yeah.
you want to throw some suggestions as to what sort of distinctions you would want, see, you guys make the decision on the facts, and my job is to make sure it's legally okay. So if you have ideas on what sort of differences you want there to be, I can incorporate those into a draft recommendation.
Yeah, I think one thing we're looking at is to make sure it's not visible to the residents, and it has some type of screening that looks good, matches the building. And I mean, just to reiterate what Councilman Schultz says, we have a couple long-time businesses that have containers. They've had them for years, and they're out of view. They're behind their businesses. We're not looking to go after them. The problem is, then we have other people who take advantage. For example, the fireworks store, which has the last count like 14.
Double.
That's it. And we've got a couple now that have popped up in other businesses' front yards. So those need to go, whatever we got to do.
So is it possible, because as you discuss it, I've been around town. I don't want to harm the little leagues, the girls softballs, the churches, the schools. Can we do it? And I heard you mention geographically and use a reasoning based on how close or adjacent they are to residents or
Yeah,
parks
that's one factor, and that would, in my mind, from my perspective, that would be totally acceptable to make a distinction that way. Another one would be, by zoning area. In an R1, you're allowed a radius of X, size Y, color Z. In heavy industry, you can make it as ugly as you want.
Sure.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's what we're looking at. We don't want to punish, Dyer Little League because nobody can see their containers anyways. So they're basically out of view.
And you can also create an exception for containers on town-owned land, that sort of thing. You can govern what standards apply to your own land.
As far as containers that hold fireworks, can we charge a inspection fee?
That verges on state regulation of fireworks. And
They
it would be-
regulate fireworks.
Yeah.
It's a home rule
It's
by them.
only the
Yeah.
fire marshal
Yeah.
and there's, I don't know, is there still only one for the whole state?
Yeah,
They
pretty
don't,
much.
they don't come around and check things too often.
We've got some different people, but we haven't
It-
seen it finished.
If you make inspection for purposes non-related to fireworks being in there,
Mhm.
that's something you can authorize. We just have to figure out how to make that something that's permissible for the town to do.
The previous recommendation was to limit flammables or explosives.
Yeah,
Would that fall under?
Yeah, well, state fire code, that's all governed by state statute too, so that's preempted.
See, this is where we start getting into the nitty gritty because we have businesses that keep, for example, propane and some gasoline.
That's your problem.
That's
Sure.
the issue, right?
That's more dangerous than the fireworks. Given we're not talking about the mortar fireworks. We're
Right.
talking
Right.
about consumer fireworks
Right.
and those kinds of things. I think that's where that's the problem we got in the quagmire we got into the last time.
Right.
You had a guy with pizza equipment that was in his backyard. That was a violation. You know, you make mention commercial properties. You stick it in a residential area in the backyard. That's when you got into the things, and that's when the council at that time kind of backed off.
I
Are there
think,
any other suggestions from cities or towns here in Indiana? They're all in the same
Everybody's in the same
situation.
boat. I mean, as I said back in 18 or 17, when we
Right.
were talking about this, if your concern is the 14 containers with fireworks, go after it. Let a judge decide that if we're right or wrong, because there's an argument that you're only allowed 2. That's what, you're allowed 2 during certain parts. It's an outdoor, that's a thing you can ask the attorney to look at that. But
Yeah, I would just be hesitant about that because the state, once you do something, then the state will swoop in and stop you guys from regulating. And, you're spending money to go to court on this. I will look into potential ways around this issue too.
Okay.
On the enforcement side, what you can do, that won't land you on the losing side in court. Because once it gets in court, then the papers pick it up.
Sure.
It's not
And I think too, any of the border cities along Indiana, Illinois, they're gonna have the same problems.
Yeah, except Illinois is, it's night and day. Illinois
Right.
grants a lot more home rule powers to their municipalities than Indiana does. I'm sure you know that. So I don't know if we can necessarily use what they're doing. to
No, I'm
translate
thinking
it.
Indiana cities that border Illinois, because we have so many people coming from Illinois to buy fireworks here.
well, that's also part of the problem. They have a huge lobby in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's the ones with the red ones.
And that's why it's all preempted by state and why they're very jealous about it.
Sure.
It's a.
okay. Is there anything else you want us to look at?
Invite the state fire marshal and ask him why he's not doing his job here.
Next, town hall renovations.
You have a memo. I have the plans. I've got the architect on my speed dial. We can kind of go over stuff. I'd like some input from it. I think the contractor breakdown gives you some sense of the
Right.
magnitude of what we're doing and what we're trying to do. We're trying to attack both the HVAC, which will in fact impact the entire building. And then the work areas, primarily the work areas that we're talking about for office areas are the Parks Wing and the Clerk Treasurer's area. My area, there isn't much. We made some modest things. We knocked a couple walls down, but there's not much else we could do to do anything with that, and then we're fine. Then there is carpeting, there's lighting and doing some things like that. One of the things that isn't in the plans, and I've got to do, is look at I got to get a couple mold companies in here to come through and evaluate what needs to be done. Everybody generally does those things for nothing. I've got a couple companies that are local that will come in and get us some ideas, but we know we're gonna have problems on the exterior walls that have got the vinyl covering on them and stuff like that. We've got some in the back. Part of it's just the age of the building and water seeping down and getting through them. We've got to figure out how extensive that is. The proposal does talk about removing all the carpets and putting new carpeting down, in some cases putting some laminate down and stuff like that. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I think we've talked about this. I think Hassie's memo is pretty self-explanatory in terms of what he looks at. They look at the magnitude of everything. If you want us to look at anything else, let me know, but we need to get moving because this, the estimate, this is about 10 months worth of work. And it would have been nice if we were started this before we were all shut down. We could have been okay, but
Sure.
it's going to be disruptive. There's no question about it.
And I think one of the reference places that you can go to is Lake Central School Corporation because similar problems to what we're experiencing. And it was boiled down to the HVAC system.
When we talked about this a couple months ago, we had a debate over whether or not an architect would look at the mold issues.
Yeah, well, they
We were
can't.
told that the architects were going to look at the mold issues.
Well, but the architect can't because of their insurance. We know there's mold. I don't need an architect to tell me I feel some of the stuff.
I was
out.
aware of that a couple months ago. I just wanted to point it out.
Yeah.
That it's-
Yeah,
we're
well, the
still
architect
on
said,
outside.
the architect told me that he can't do it because of his insurance. He's not certified to do that stuff. He can resolve it.
I also, I have to point out that we've got a comp plan that I know it's not an overnight plan. It might be 10 years from now. But we're looking at acquiring parcels just to the west, southwest, for the new government complex over there. No private resident or business would put $1.2 million, $1.23 million into renovating someplace that you plan on selling. And I'd imagine this is unusable to a private business as is. They're going to want to completely demolish and utilize the land eventually. I can't justify anything other than just the pure health issues. If we have health issues with mold with the carpeting, rip the carpeting up, replace the carpeting. But I can't justify $1.23 million into a building that's going to be replaced. We're planning on replacing.
Well, and that's a legitimate issue. If we're serious, if you're serious about making that move within a certain amount of time period, then you should commit to that, and then you can relook at this. But I don't think you should just do a little bit and we're 10 years later, you're still here.
Right.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. It's crossed my mind. There's no question about it.
And I would agree with Eric on that, if we thought that within, 5 years, we were going to be building a new system, I think, or a new building, we may want to hold that off. But we also know that doing that government complex that we're looking at is going to cost a lot of money. We know we just took out $10 million to work on the water. We know we've got several, $5, $7, $8, $10 million for the sanitary side. So I would imagine for the next 10, 15 years, we have a lot of infrastructure bonds that we're going to need to be doing that will tap into the residents' pocket. I would hate for us to say we, spent $10 million on a government complex before we spent the money on the critical infrastructure. So while it is a lot of money, I'm okay with this, knowing that the fight should be to stay here until we get some of the bigger bombs out of the way, in my opinion.
Also, the discussion was on doing this in phases, different parts of it, do what was needed, such as the boiler. The
boiler's been awarded now, Steve.
Okay.
And we're literally waiting for it to show up. So that's when we talk about the phases. This they talk about. I think Cassie explains through how to do some of it in phases.
Yeah,
but the boiler was separate.
And it also says they're still looking at pricing for addressing some of the air issues. I'd like to see the different pricing. It's not in here yet. Said it will be coming. Yeah, he put up this memo, right? You look on page 3 under phasing.
You're right.
It
Remember that
says-
we have employees that are here every day.
Yeah, so I'm not
Yeah,
against
absolutely,
it.
we need to take care of any health issues, certainly.
Right.
But anything that's aesthetic improvements, I'm saying I'd like to see us hold off.
I'm sorry, I thought I had the floor here and I was trying to explain something. Thank you. So on page 3, under phasing,
Okay,
it says attached email, hopefully get it done hours or weekend. We will secure prices and give you options. I would like to see some of that. And my understanding of our discussion on phasing was, let's start with a priority list and work our way down, such
Okay,
as the
I'll
boiler, we
prepare
got that
another
number
report for you.
1. The second on our priority list should be health issues. I would think the mold would be. I agree that the air circulation and the breathing for the employees here, and we start with those first. This doesn't have to be all done right now. And next year or later on this year, we can look at other options as was suggested in here. And then the year after that, we don't have to spend a whole million, what was it, 1.3?
1.23.
1.26. So I'm in the same school of thought as Councilman Schultz, but I'd like to move forward and what the next year, couple of
I'll
years,
prepare a
make
different
that
alternative for
decision.
you.
And I agree. We need, as a council, to make that decision if we're going to do it. Doesn't matter if it's 5 years out or 10 years out. It just doesn't matter.
How to make the decision on what, Steve? The new town hall or this?
Yes, both.
Oh,
New
yeah,
town
well, you
hall.
are.
Yeah.
It's your decision to make.
Yeah, and we should have that at a discussion. I don't know if we're going to continue that on tonight for the study session or have another meeting on it. But that's a future discussion, just like the comprehensive plan. It's got to be all part of the bigger picture. So I believe, there's some discussion. I wouldn't want to spend all that right now.
All right, what do you want from me for the next meeting?
Just a breakdown as far as if we had any other bids as far as.
No, we don't have any bids. We have the courtesy of a contractor who's given us an estimate, a bid estimate, a budget estimate, I'm sorry.
So the
It's
bids
not
will
a
come
bid.
later.
It's not a bid.
Okay.
This will go out with a detailed set of specs and everything else. We basically gave them plans and said, and they do it on large projects all the time. Of course, Hassie's just got done doing the fire station and everything. So they owed us one. That's where that came from.
I just feel updating the HVAC equipment was going to save us a fortune in utility bills.
But doing the HVAC equipment requires some other work. I will get that for you, because you're not going to get by without doing anything to certain offices. Okay, as long as you understand that. And
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anybody's talking about not.
Right.
I just want to make sure that.
I understand.
It's something we have to figure out, because I would say in the short term, we're at least going to be here another 10 years, if not longer.
I would tend to disagree with you if you're willing to do it. Because in a couple of years, you have an injection of money that you'll be able to use for that project. And I've talked about that before, and it doesn't compete with sanitary stuff.
One of the bonds of 2018 or 2019, I have to look, it's upstairs. It stated there was money, but it was already spent for the clerk's office to be remodeled, because clerk treasurer Harrod at the time asked for that. And here we are going into 2021. We just gotta take down a wall. Halfway, just
Let me come up with some
circulation.
proposals for you.
Okay. Next is
That's the best way to do it, rather than speculate tonight.
request to review vacation buyout. Now, this came up at the December meeting.
What do you want to do? You approved on a one-time basis.
Personally, I think we should just follow the policy. I know we made an exception this year for COVID, and that's fine. But for next year, I think.
Well, that's what we asked for, was an exception.
Right.
Right, and that was, this was off of my email of having some thoughts about it. I still think a policy's there for a reason, and if, I know it's within our purview to make exceptions all the time, but if we can make exceptions all the time, should we just look at the policy and come up with something that we will allow rollovers, that we will allow buyouts? Or if we don't want to do that, then we don't do that. I understand that last year was a hiccup, but I just think we should do it right.
And I have to agree. I think if we have a practice or something that we all agree we should be doing, that should be included in policy. And speaking of policy, could I have a copy of it, please?
Of what,
The
Steve?
vacation policy and buyout policy. I don't remember having it, but
The vacation was done at a meeting. The policy, if I remember right, is text the materials that are here.
Yeah, it's attached, that couple pages. And the reason why I think we shouldn't leave it up to random council whim at any given time is, let's say you have an employee who uses their vacation throughout the year. They don't necessarily go anywhere. We don't really care where they go or what they do. It's just a benefit that they can use. But then come October, November, they find out, well, heck, the council now will allow for a buyout. When I took my vacation in May, had I known that was an option, perhaps I wouldn't have taken that, because if they're paying out in December, that's a nice time to get a check. So I really dislike the idea of a moving goalpost for the benefit of the employees, that they know what they're working with.
This was an exceptional year. I think that we ought to stay with the exception and maintain.
How hard is it to change the policy to add that little rider that Councilman Starkey's talking about? Is there, what's the
There
process?
isn't any.
There isn't
We
any,
just
put
modify
it in.
the policy and you approve it.
Yeah.
What we essentially did was ask for a variance, like we go to BCA, and said we want to vary from the
For
regulations,
1 year,
and you did it.
yes.
So that issue's behind us.
Right.
If I want to ask you to change the policy, I have to rewrite the policy, bring it to you, and then you have to take a motion. So it was a one-time thing. Now, I know communities that have buyouts and stuff like that. And
And that was my only concern. 2021 may not be much different than 2020.
no, I don't think so.
We're in January now, so are we going to have the same vacation issue? Have folks in all departments randomly take vacation that I can't go to Disney World, but I got this vacation I gotta burn because the policy says I gotta burn it. And then at the end of the year, well, heck, I could have gotten an extra week or two of pay. So I think we should decide now if we're going to stick with this and not make amendments to it, or if we're going to allow it for 2021, because I think this year's looking the same.
I don't see the value to ever give up your right to make an alteration based on an extenuating circumstance. I agree with you, 99 out of 100 times you should be following the policy, but most of these exceptions were in our police department, who were stood up on high alert all summer.
Right.
Dealing with COVID, having to backfill for people unexpectedly, coming off of vacation because somebody got sick or quarantined and you had to fill in for them. I hope that we don't ever have to see this again, but I'm perfectly comfortable with making the exception on a one-time basis. I'm also perfectly comfortable with adding language to allow them to roll over 1 week of vacation every year at their discretion. If you guys are interested in entertaining that.
I really think you guys need to look at the whole policy book, because the last time it was rewritten was 2006. And that's some of it was updated 2007, 2008, certain ones. But the personnel policy book should be looked at every 4 years, just to bring it up to date with codes and laws and things that change.
You're right.
all right, let me look at the vacation policy, because there's some merit to letting people know ahead of time, so you don't have the moving goalposts.
Right.
And that makes sense. I mean, when I was in Munster, we had an accrual that you could get to, and then we buy you out of that, because we didn't want to have people running up, so you only had, if you had 4 weeks vacation, I think you could get 6 or something. Anything over that, we'd buy you off to keep the cost down, because it's an after employment, post-employment benefit liability that you got to deal with and stuff. But if you look through here, I mean, as we talked about, the biggest problem appeared to be in the command staff in PD, as Dave gave you the reasons what the issues were. Fortunately for Public Works, they're already on some restricted times when they can't take vacation, so they're used to getting rid of it and stuff. But we had problems here with a few people we had some people sick, so somebody else was covering, and we couldn't really spring vacations and stuff like that. You got 1 or 2 people in an office, you can't have 2 people being gone and do very well.
That's right.
So let me put some thoughts together and we'll look at stuff and okay.
Mr. President, just for discussion here, police department's policy allows rollover. We are guided by a separate policy for vacation, as we always have.
Okay.
We do allow it with written approval from the department head with circumstances that arise towards the end of the year with a fixed schedule that we have. So we do allow the rollover. So it wasn't a matter of a mismanagement issue or anything, but we do routinely allow that. Obviously, you roll that into the situation that 2020 presented us to come up with some larger numbers. The graph that's used in the memo here was a preliminary graph that's in December, with the 4 command staff being on that list. We got together and realizing that you can't all 4 take the entire month of December off. 2 of those members are off the list. They were not part of the buyout program. So we were able to reduce it amongst ourselves to get down to that number. But I'd be happy to share that portion of the general policy. You guys should have it with that portion of ours in case you want to use some similar wording.
Thank you for
Thank you.
clarifying.
Do you want to initiate a review of the entire employment manual, or is that a project you want to save for later?
No, I've got mine all marked up. Tom will adjust that.
Let's save it for later. We've got a lot on our plate.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
No, I've got a couple small pieces.
Councilman Schultz?
Just a little bit of housekeeping. Councilman Starkey, you had looked at changing the flow of the meetings. We all agreed to put citizen input up front because we realized there were people that would sit 45 minutes to an hour through a whole meeting, and all they wanted to say was 2 minutes of something that was unrelated.
Right.
So it was well intended, but now that we've got emails through YouTube, or we might have someone that the meeting spurred a thought. Are we open to putting citizen input at the beginning and the end to allow so that Frank at the end of the meeting can read, hey, we've got some email
Sure.
questions.
And
It looks like we do.
we do.
Yeah, if I can interject, we got one here.
Yes,
about
go ahead.
12 minutes ago. It's up on your screens there, and it was from Carissa Beeshole. I hope I didn't mess up that name, regarding the Hart Street Ditch Project. I'm wondering if you have any information on the Hart Street Ditch Project and acquiring the 3 homes between the ditch and Steck Street. This is from Carissa Beeshole, 2212 Hart Street.
She's one of our interested residents.
Right, I would defer to Adam on this because my understanding is they should be acquired this year.
We're gonna start
Yeah,
acquisition.
I just spoke with
talked
Tom about
earlier.
it.
Okay,
Those
We're
letters will
going
be
after
going
the
out.
6 properties
okay.
now, if you will.
Does that include
Yes,
Everly, the access to Everly Park?
that's a straight out acquisition, hopefully, but yes, that'll be 7. It includes 213th
Got it.
and these houses, these 3 or 4 houses here. We're gonna get started on that and move forward on that. Now the holidays are behind us. So I hope that answers your questions. We've talked on the phone several
Okay.
times.
All right. Any other questions?
Will we need an ordinance to adjust the citizen input, or is that something that the president could just ask for citizen input at the end of each meeting?
No, it's just,
Yeah, you don't need an ordinance.
You don't
It's
need it.
just,
Okay.
managing your own.
I'm going to put some stuff together on this building thing and send it around for some thoughts and comments to make sure I'm thinking what you guys are thinking, and we'll go from there. All right?
Thank you.
And next meeting, I'll probably have the architects here. So if there are specific questions, because some of these things are in a lot.
Yeah, that was one thing I was looking at with some of the totals. As you start stripping away things that may not seem necessary, they were relatively low amounts compared to, so if you look at the HVAC cost, that was one line, but then everything you need with the HVAC, that was the bulk.
HVAC's a big number.
That was the bulk of that, so.
You gotta remember, we've done, if you notice in the offices, I have that wall unit. There's those things in all the big, we've been replacing those, going from old analog to digital. We've been doing that that was part of the first Millie's report. Now it's the boiler, which is the original equipment, and then the condensing units outside and those kinds of things. But then there's chopping down some walls, making them 6 foot instead of all the way to the ceiling, provide for some better ventilation and stuff like that. And those are things and then that involves brings into play in the ceilings and stuff like that. So it's kind of like peeling the onion skin. But I'll put together some thoughts for you, and you can go from there. Understanding what our pecking order and stuff. Because like down here, other than the mold, I mean, we were talking about renovations down here, but maybe get rid of the carpet and do some other stuff. And Frank and I have been working on the sound system, if you notice that. We want to make it better usable for that kind of stuff, but aesthetics. I mean, this building's got a lot of potential, but this room down here would be for something else. This is a good lawyer, doctor's office and stuff like that, but it's a tough place for the public when you think about it. It's a hard place to get into. You know, it's not the easiest thing to get into this place for a community building and stuff like that. That's why there ain't some benefit to what we're talking about, but it's got some value to it. The land certainly does.
I would like to see some security features maybe included if you guys do plan on staying here for some time upstairs, similar to fob systems that we have over at the other buildings, not allow access to your guys' chambers as easy as it is.
We'll put something together, but I'm gonna keep this moving because time's a waste and I don't want people coming back in when we're tearing the place up. That's not gonna help us any.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second, you don't need it?
Yeah, we're just going home.
Just go home.
Get out of here.
Right here.